break, and then we'll be back to see what's going on in the human factors community. So Patreon, let's talk about this for a little bit. Blake, you know what Patreon is?
I do. It's this thing that you do where you can help shows like this out by getting cool things from us.
Yeah, so we have the commercial. You just heard it. We have a couple other things going for us that you might not be aware of. So, like I said, patrons are now choosing the news. So if you want a say in what's on the show, feel free, jump over there, help us out. We always post every Monday. We post a thing on there. You can choose what we're doing. We're always updating with new rewards. We got a fresh patrons are getting something almost every day over there. So that's kind of fun too. If you're able to, it'd be tremendously helpful. We're trying to branch out more and more, and the Patreon contributions help us do things like stream on multiple platforms or host a website or host the episodes. That's money that we use out of our own pockets. So anything you can do to help really helps us out. And if you can't, that's okay too. Just enjoy the show. We want to put it out for everyone. All right. Well, why don't we go ahead and switch gears and get to this next part of the show? It came from somewhere. This is the part of the show where we search all over the internet to bring you the topics the community is talking about. Our patrons also, by the way, get front of the line to this. No Patreon questions this week, but this one comes from an anonymous tipper. Blake, I'm going to read this to you. This is, how do you deal with a hostile, combative, or uncooperative user during usability studies? It says, hi guys, recently ran a usability study with a participant who was combative about the types of information we were collecting. Obviously, things are different and difficult in the time of COVID, but we were accused of using the recordings for the usability study for personal gain rather than just the purposes of the study, even though they wouldn't even let us get through the consent form. How do you deal with these types of participants? Blake, have you ever dealt with a combative participant or hostile or uncooperative?
Yes, for sure. In this, I don't know. So I'm going to say something that's probably unpopular here.
Okay.
And that's just, it's going to be an is what it is type situation. This, I'm going to butcher where I took this from. I've taken this, this idea from listening to too much Tim Ferriss over the years. But basically, at the end of the day, you only have so many mental resources to give, whether it's your job, business aspects, whatever. And you want to be working with customers that make your life in some ways simple. So if you're running into issues like this, where it's it's an issue just to record even, or you can't even get through the consent form, then maybe if you, especially if you have other participants lined up, maybe you don't need to go through it with this particular person. Maybe their feedback is not going to be as valuable as somebody else who you can try and fill their spot with. So I don't know. I mean, there's two ways that I could see handling it. Trying your best to just, be that human factors or user experience professional and just try and get through the situation. Whether if you want to offer them to do the study without recording it, cool. If you still think that's valuable, awesome, go that route. Or you cut them loose and you let them go about their day. Because if you can't meet these criteria that we need to do our job, then this just is not going to work out. That's kind of the route that I would take there. That's a really short answer, but that's just the way I look at that stuff. Life's a little too short to be worried about like this person. We're gonna lose this person. What do we do? I don't think you have to worry too much. There's probably other people you can talk to.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree, and that's exactly what I did. So,
Yeah, that's totally valid. That's what I would have done. Oh man.
so here's the thing. I had a usability study earlier this week, and it was just it was a very interesting experience because I've never had something like this happen where just there was a lot of a lack of trust, even though like, so I jump into this thing and I'm trying to explain what it is, and they just won't let me get through the consent form. And the consent form obviously has all the information that they would need to make an informed decision, but we couldn't even get to that point. And then they started saying, well, I have feedback, and well, can we record? No. So it's like this big thing. And it's one of those situations where it was very difficult to manage in the moment because you have this set schema of how things are supposed to go.
Yeah.
And as you are going through this exercise, you want to make sure that you are both accommodating to them too, right? That they're offering you their time, and ultimately that's what happened, right? Like they're offering us their time to participate in the study, and we want to respect that. And there's the only thing you can do is be humble and say, look, if they don't want to participate, they don't have to. But like the thing is, we didn't even get to that part of the consent form that says, hey, you don't have to participate in this thing that if you don't want to. It was like a hostile interaction from the get-go.
Oh, goodness.
And it was trying to play damage control, just trying to get back to the consent form to like make sure I hit all the points. And so, yes, I think absolutely in those situations, you just say, hey, look, like really appreciate your time. If you don't feel comfortable, then feel free to just send us your feedback through another mechanism, email or something like that. But I know I'm not alone on this. I know others have experienced this as well. And, I thought it was a good lesson. I almost brought this up for banter, but thought it was too good and thought it fit more appropriately in this section. Because like I said, I've not had something like this happen before. So anyway, yeah, that's that.
Yeah, I mean, so that's a really tough situation too, because I've been in the midst of a design, like going through a new product that's not completely, it's not done. It's so early, but it's like one of those things that it's almost make or break, right? And because I can't really talk about what it was for, but we were dealing with like a population of people that don't necessarily use a lot of technology. So like the fact that it wasn't seamless really, really hurt us. And so we got some very volatile interactions like while doing the usability testing stuff. Like where the frustration was like so escalated that it's like, oh man, what do we even do here? So it's beyond anything we can control, because it's like you as a human factors person, you're trained to let people get frustrated to a point, and then you have to kind of mediate from there. And it was one of those situations where the first time ever had been thrown in the deep end of figuring that out. But your case is completely. Really, I don't even know what I would do in that situation besides like offer them like it sounds like you did, like alternative means to provide feedback. But ultimately, if you won't if we can't even get through the consent form, I can't imagine the rest of the test is going to go that great, or it's going to be an easy road for either party.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where it's like, hey, I'm just going to read through this verbatim so that way I just don't make sure I don't miss anything. And I read like the first part of it, and they were like, are you done yet? Because I have stuff that I'd like to say. Are you done talking? This is very
already.
I was like, no, I still got a whole consent form to go through. But if you have questions, let's talk about it. And then it's like, well, here's my feedback. And I was like, please wait. Can we just get through a little bit more of this thing? It was really tough to manage. And I offer my strength to anyone who goes through something like that. It was tough. And again, like it's one of those situations where no data is worth upsetting or antagonizing another human being for. And I didn't, right? Like it felt hostile to me because I was trying to conduct this thing, and I've ran several other ones that went off without any issues. And to just get hit with this thing right off the bat, it felt like an attack on me. But like, but realistically, like, you know, I understand where they were coming from, right? They had privacy and security concerns, and you know, I obviously didn't want to push for anything that they were uncomfortable with, so I was very accommodating. I wanted to make sure that they were, you know, they were aware of what they were in for, and we just couldn't even get to that point. So I said, you know, hey, like, you know, you can withdraw at any time if you don't feel comfortable with it. We don't have to do it. And then they just hung up. So that's how that one went.
Yikes. I mean, so the other thing you can, or I don't know, to kind of expand on this, right? Like, it is important to kind of self-audit, right? So let's say, because this wouldn't happen, I don't think, necessarily to most people, but it might if you're like fresh in your career and you really haven't done many usability tests. Maybe you're working remotely for a company, you're the only human factors or user experience person, and you're going to put together a usability test. And if you notice that issues like this are coming up, you may need to audit like how you're presenting yourself, or what's in the consent form, or the onboarding process. So like, it is good to kind of, for like using a comedic term, I guess, like read the room that you're in and kind of do some self-analysis from, you know, bad experiences for sure. But at the end of the day, that just sounds like it was just an intense individual, and it was just not going to work out regardless.
And I mean, be humble, right? Like I wasn't dead set on getting that data from them.
Yeah.
I was like, you know, again, like I was playing the role of facilitator. I was trying to get information out of them, and they were uncomfortable doing it, and that's fine. Just make sure that it's clear that, you know, there's no harm, no foul if they bow out, and you should always like allow participants to do that. You know, they are volunteering their time, even if they are getting compensated for it in some way. They are volunteering their time to assist you in something that you need feedback on, and so you know, it is their show. And if they don't want to do it, if they don't want to be the star of that show, then you don't let them, you know, they don't have to be the star of that show. It's just one of those things. I am looking for another one of these things. I don't know if we want to go into another one. Episode's a little light today, but
I mean, we could if there's anything good. I know, like with some of our Reddit stuff, we get like the same questions kind of over and over. And I know we don't want to necessarily beat a dead horse, if you will.
Yeah, I don't want to either. I'm just checking one thing, and then yeah. All right. I think we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. We're gonna call it a little early. You know, and if you want, I just have one more programming note for everyone that I forgot to mention at the top of the show. Blake kind of alluded to it, but we are back on YouTube now. So with that, I'll give us the outro. All right. Well, that's going to be it for it today, everyone. Let us know what you guys think of the story this week. If you want, you can join us discussion on Slack. Follow us on any of our social channels at H Factors Podcast, including YouTube. Check us out there. We are streaming every week around 4:30 Pacific. You can always email us, show@humanfactorscast.com. If you like what you hear, you want to support the show, there's a couple ways you can do that. You can leave us a review on your podcast medium of choice. You can let a friend know about the show. Or you can consider supporting us on Patreon. That really helps us on the back end. And, of course, you can always reach us at our home on the web, humanfactorscast.com. I want to thank Blake Arnsdorff for being on the show today. Where can our listeners go and find you if they want to talk about how to set up Streamlabs?
Oh, gosh, if you want to talk about how to set up Streamlabs, you guys can always find me in the Human Factors Cast Slack or across social media at Don't Panic UX.
As for me, I've been your host, Nick Roome. You can find me across social media at Nick_Roome. Thanks again for tuning into Human Factors Cast. Until next time.
It depends.
All right. Are you done recording? We still streaming?
We're still streaming.
All right. So what happened there in the middle?
Okay, let me stop my recording real quick.
One.
So what happened is, I think from here, so ultimately I need to build a PC if we're going to do this. because it's just not going to work. It's not going to work long term. And it's something I've already started putting money away for, not just for HFcast, right, but for other nonsense that I do. But I think what happened is I was trying like a goofball, and this is pulling back the curtain for everybody else. I was trying to actually bring in some assets of that story we did mid-Streamlab stream.
Oh,
and I think it just like hung everything up. So I think next week what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just only going to have this up for Streamlabs and you and the recording, and then I'll have my laptop for everything else. It like reading the stories even, because I think it like the bandwidth from Chrome, like the one Chrome tab with you in it, is just too nuts to keep this thing going. So yeah, that's kind of it. Unfortunately, anybody that watched this and even our YouTube channel, it'll come up in like two halves, and I don't know how long we were hung up for. So we might be better off just taking it down, but we'll see. Hopefully next week it'll be a little bit better. And one thing that I totally screwed up on, and apologies to Nick and people that check out the YouTube channel, is I totally forgot to bring my other Ethernet cord in here and plug that in. That might help too.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Anyone who's joining us here right now, you are getting the test of what we're hoping to do here in a couple of weeks. And in fact, we probably will take this down from YouTube. This is literally just a test for us to make sure we got some of the fundamentals down here, right? We want to make sure that we're able to stream effectively. We want to make sure that we can stream long term. We want to make sure that we can stream to multiple sources. We're starting small scale. We're going to ramp up. So you'll find us on Twitch eventually. You'll find us on Facebook, all the other platforms that people stream on. Yeah, right now we're just trying to work out the kinks. I think we're going to try this for about a month before we have some serious upgrades to the way that we do things over here. So thanks for sticking with us and all that stuff. So yeah, do you got anything else for me, Blake? I do want to. I want to say. What do I want to say? Oh yes, at some point you and I need to sit down and have a little convo.
Why did that happen?
Well, it happened because
no, I thought I had like a surefire way to do something, because one thing that I also screwed up on, and this was good to learn, is every time I tried to kick something open for whatever reason, because you're the primary Chrome tab for some reason, it kicked it over there and it screwed the stream up. So that might have been some of the problems. But anyway, yes, conversation, we can have that.
Yeah.
I'm imagining we don't want to have that on stream.
Oh, we can have it on stream. We can have some of it on stream. Let's start
happen.
There. So, wait, what? What happened?
Sorry, I'm getting like Streamlabs is awesome, but it like the notification kind of when your stream is impacted is not necessarily really salient. So I got another clip, and I think it's all about me opening up extra Chrome tabs.
Okay.
And I think our stream is just horrible. Have you watched the previous one?
I've been watching them live on delay. So that's why I told you I think we hung up.
Yeah, I think it's just hanging up now.
Halfway through.
So I think I'm going to
no, it looks like it's still going.
Is it? All right, cool.
Yeah, it's still going.
As long as it's going on your side.
Yeah, so part of the conversation right now. So first part is the thing that I mentioned earlier, the individual about the day.
Yes, bonus. The special day, Cinco de Mayonnaise.
Yeah, you're not in trouble, Blake. Don't worry. And listeners, he's not in trouble.
Fired.
Don't worry. Getting fired from a podcast.
Getting fired from a podcast. Oh, well, I've got
Gina
fired
Cargano.
From worse things.
Did you hear about that?
Gina Carano?
Yeah.
What about her? I have no idea.
Oh, she got booted from Mandalorian.
Why?
Because she made stupid comments on social media.
Shit, Gina, you did not.
Well, yes, she did.
That's awful. That's too bad.
So, I don't know. She kind of deserved it.
Yeah, I mean, if she made stupid comments, I mean, that is what it is, and that is part of the game now. But I like Gina Carano as a character on that show, and certainly as an MMA fighter. But, you know, if she's being insane in her personal life, there's nothing you can really do. Culture's different now. Yeah. Got to mind your P's and Q's.
Yeah, the other thing I'd like to talk to you about is Human Factors Minute. So for people who are watching right now, we do a separate podcast called Human Factors Minute, and you can find that on Patreon.
And what's it about, Nick?
Well, it's a It's if you ever wanted a bite-sized chunk of human factors every week in your RSS feed or podcast reader, that's the place to do it. So we actually look all over all our textbooks, and we look at all the human factors stuff, anything human factors, and we produce a short 1 minute episode on specific topics. This has been going on for about a year. And in fact, we are running up on our year. And at some point, Blake, you and I need to sit down and come up with a strategy for the upcoming episodes, because we're built into the next year a little bit. But we have quite a few blank spaces, and we need to actually produce these and write these out. And so we need to do that at some point. And I think this could be like a weekend project, like a Saturday or Sunday or something. Just go for a couple hours, and just knock it out, and then record it separately.
Yeah.
Because I think the time commitment on a Thursday would be too much. We could also do it separately ourselves, but I do want to get together at least and form a strategy around what content when, because there's we've been, for anyone who's listening, we do kind of alternate, right? We kind of talk about human factors areas, and then we kind of do a technical group spotlight from HFES, and then we'll get into like history, methodology, certification. We kind of do this rotating thing, so that way you're always getting a variety of content, and it's never like, hey, here's this technical group, here's this next technical group, here's this next technical group for 52 weeks, and then you get, like, we want to give variety in this, and so it's a way that that's the strategy that I'm alluding to, right? We want to make sure that we're switching out our content enough to provide some of that variety. See, we put a lot of effort into Patreon. Anyway, I feel like this is an advertisement for Patreon, but anyway, we need to talk about that.
Yeah, and I think that so totally down for that. We can definitely do it. Thursday night would be too much, so I agree with you there. The other thing we probably could do, since now we have more Patreon subs or Patreons or however it's actually said, maybe we can put it out to them if there's content they would like to hear in Human Factors Minute, or like also kind of, did they enjoy your Chernobyl series, and do they want more of that stuff?
Yeah, that's interesting, because the Chernobyl series actually doesn't even end until March 30th. It seems like so long ago that we did that, and it was because we actually produced a full year of content before we actually even pushed it live. That way, we made sure it was all going to come out in 1 year. We wanted to make sure, because we used to do other podcasts that were kind of sporadic, and it was just too much of a time commitment for us. But this is something that we can kind of work on our own and push it out. So, but yeah, that Chernobyl series is right in the middle of it, I think. And this is not spoilers. It's not whatever. It's
spoilers.
Where are we? We just did part 4 on the 2nd, so part 5 comes out on March 2nd. So. Yeah, and there's 6 parts. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that multi-part format works. And I think, I'll probably ask a little bit after it's out to see if that worked. But we gotta come up with more stuff before then. So looks like we have topics until June.
Okay.
So yeah,
that's pretty great.
We have topics, but they're not developed, and then we got to fill in some blanks there. So anyway, all right. Anything else you want to say to the people who are watching?
No, I think I'm good. I've kind of covered my gamut of things to say to the audience for sure.
All right. Well, thank you. If you're joining us on YouTube, thank you. You got the full gamut here. You got the before show on another episode, I guess, because it's broken in 2. I don't know. And then you got this, which is the after show.